Today's cosplay goal is to take these two dresses, cut them up, and turn them into the base for my Esmeralda outfit. Now, Esmeralda does have her sleeve. This part here is kind of rolled up, but I'm not going to be able to roll this sleeve up and make it look good without destroying the integrity of this beautiful flare here. But what I can do is I can cut this and then sew it as close as possible as I can to here. I don't want to destroy where this is already attached because this is where the underarm is and I don't want to mess that up too much. But I can take this and measure it and put the wider part to that wider part, and I should be able to create a much shorter sleeve that will look really cute. I've now pinned the sleeves together inside out. I'm going to take this and sew them together, so there's going to be a seam here. That's what I'm going to do, and yeah, it's going to look really nice once I have the whole thing together. So I was able to keep this nice flare, and it's not going to be exactly the same, but that's the fun part about cosplay. You can still create the suggestion of the desired result without making it exactly the same. The sleeves have been completed. As you can see, they sew together pretty well. It was just a small little bump on this side and then just a little bit of extra fabric on this side, but it is still very wearable because this is right here at the underarm, so you won't even notice. And then I added this red piece so that it's going to be more opaque and less see-through. I just pinned everything and then held it taut and just sewed through from the front side here, as you can see, through the elastic to the other side, and this looks really, really nice. The next step was attaching the bodice to the skirt. That went pretty okay. I sewed it from both sides, both the white side and the purple side, to make sure I didn't miss any. I did end up having to sew a small little part from the front side once I flipped everything outside in again, but since all of the middle section will be covered by the corset in the final cosplay, I'm not too worried about that. I didn't bother sewing the red part to anything since it really doesn't have any stretch, and I wanted to make sure that the dress still flowed really well. And again, that part is going to be all contained when the corset goes over the middle. And yes, I am sitting on the floor and using my hands to press the pedal instead of my foot. Is this the most optimal way to sew? No, but for a very quick project, it works rather well. That is the sewing portion of this cosplay completed. I did try to sew this in such a way so that I could still do a drawstring. And this one, I'm able to do it a little bit. This side, I did accidentally sew right here, so that's impossible. But the rest of it does work, which is neat. And you're not going to really be able to see this part anyway because this is where the corset is going. But just to try and preserve the structural integrity a little bit, I finally got my eyelets, so it is time to finish the outfit. However, one of these stitches did pop, so not only am I going to fix this, but I'm just going to put a second layer of stitching all around just to give it some security if another stitch were to pop in the future. Second line of stitching successfully added. I really should have done this back when I put the whole thing together, but I was tired. When you sew for a while, sometimes you get to the end of a project and you're like, I'll work on it later. So later has come. I had the energy to add the second line. This is going to be much more secure. I'm glad I did not cut this excess off because that gave me room to work with when it came to adding this second line of stitching here. It's time for the next stage of the project. You can see that this sash isn't as purple as in the original design, but again, when I'm making a cosplay like this, it's not about having it perfect, it's about having it look close enough that when people see it, they instantly think of the outfit. I've got this nice yellow edging. It saved me from having to actually create yellow edging, and then I'm going to be putting these eyelets on to support these rings. I also have to cut this off. I'm just going to use the seam ripper to make that happen. I'm so glad I found this seam ripper. It was just under the couch from the last time I had done a sewing project in this room. I can see that this is held on by this white stitching, so I can easily get this off without having to interfere with the stitching on the actual sash itself, and without cutting it in a weird way and leaving any behind by mistake. Trying to pop most of the stitches off here. You can see there's just a little bit left. Anything that's white stitching can go. Okay, there's one. Just gotta hit the other side. Try not to get the gold stitching. And there we go. It's free and I didn't mess this up too bad. In the picture that I'm referencing, it looks like she has about 5, but if you watch the movie, it seems like she has about 6. So I'm going to put like 1, 2, 3, maybe up to kind of like this middle crease here, and then 1, 2, 3 on the other side. I think these are good. They're going to help to weigh down the side of the sash that I choose to have out. I think that's pretty good. Let me just see. It doesn't have to be perfectly positioned. The next step is making a little hole in here so I can put these eyelets on. I don't want these to be too close to the edge because it'll take away from the structural integrity of the garment, but how about this? I'm going to put the rings all the way to here. And then I'm going to just do a dot in the middle of each ring. My next step will be to create a tiny little hole. This material is so thin, I don't have to do much. I just don't want to make a giant hole. It's just going to be a tiny, tiny little hole. Just snip. Okay, I want to put the flower through from the bottom. Excellent. So just a little hole allowed it to go through. And we're going to put this on top. We've got this, which we're going to use now. They have the instructions in the back, but I've pretty well got it down at this point.
A few moments later.
It's honestly a little confusing as to which side I'm supposed to place these down, because these are these flower eyelets. But I'm going to try this side first, and if it looks weird, I'll try the other side. Well, that's down pretty good. This looks great. This looks really nice. One down, several to go. I just went ahead and pre-cut all the holes. That'll make it a bit easier as I'm putting everything together here. Because it's kind of annoying to have to stop and cut the hole for each one as you go along. So if I pre-cut the holes, then that makes it a lot easier. So that's all I'm going to be doing is putting each one of these in, attaching it, and then hammering away. The next step, of course, is adding these guys to them. Now, they do have this, which means I can slide them on. One of the reasons I got these ones specifically. Let's see if I can make it work here. I think I am going to put an extra ring on this because this just doesn't look long enough to me. So let's do that. Yes. Perfect. Here is the finished sash. I'm very pleased with how this came out. These will give these some weight and just allow it to drape really nicely, and it's that perfect Esmeralda flare. With the dress finally completed, it's time for a get ready with me so you can see how the whole outfit comes together. Thank you so much for watching.